Welcome to the Physician Associate Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Physician Associate Podcast. My name is James. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Joe and Alex from Locum PA. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Hi James, thanks for having us.
Do you want to introduce yourselves?
So my name's Joseph Ormerod. I'm a PA graduate from St George's back in 2011 and I'm one of the directors of Locum PA.
Hi everyone. So I'm Alex. I'm one of the directors also here at Locum PA. I graduated back in St George's almost 10 years ago now, and I work clinically as well as run Locum PA.
Thanks, guys. So who wants to kick off and tell us a little bit about your company, Locum PA?
So I set the company up in 2013. I just got back from Glasgow from doing a rotation in surgical specialties, which was an amazing experience. But I'd already been given a job in general practice down in Crawley. So I started working for them, and they had two different sites in Crawley. And then they also had a walk-in centre. And one of the partners approached me after, 6 or 8 months of working at the GP practices and asked me if I wanted to start locuming. And that kind of is where the idea all came from, really. I spent 2 years in general practice and then decided to do a bit more hospital work. And that's when me and Alex happened to find ourselves both back in George's again. We knew each other from when we were students, and we started having conversations about the future of PAs and the possibility of locuming and getting, more PAs on board in both primary care and secondary care.
Both of us were thinking about some kind of on the same lines, that PAs want flexibility. They want to earn a bit more extra cash around their actual job, as well as explore the different opportunities that are out there. You can see that there's like a huge industry of locum doctors, like nurses. So why couldn't the PA do that as well? So that's what Joe and I wanted to bring out. So we were the first physician associate locuming company that there is in the UK. I remember our very first client, Joe, I'm not sure if you remember as well, but it's that hospital down in Portsmouth where we're doing surgical first assisting. And actually, it's funny, at the time I was away on a trip, because I was on the trip to Antarctica with my dad a couple of years ago, and we were only having very intermittent email access, and I remember receiving an email from Joe and saying, "Oh my god, we've got our first payment from a client," and as our very first client invoice that was paid from a client, and we were like, wow, we're actually a business.
Yeah, in the early days, James, we were working such long days to try and get established. I think we were probably doing like 12-hour days during the week, and definitely working on it, 7 days a week, trying to convince both PAs and clients that it was a really good service and that there was a mutual benefit for both parties. We got a lot of the clients on board by me literally going out to the clients and working for them as the guinea pig PA, which was a very interesting experience, because back then, a lot of the practices hadn't heard of the PA concept at all. Like now, it's very commonly known because of the PCN marketing and all the funding and just the sheer amount of PAs. But back then, there was me and 11 other people, I think back in 2011, 12. And so in 2013, PAs weren't heard of really. So we had to spend a lot of time on marketing, getting new clients, talking them through it, and then also, me as a guinea pig going out, showing them what PAs can and can't do. And we would then invite other PAs to go into the practice after we'd kind of smooth things out, ironed things out.
And it's not just general practice that you cover, putting locum PAs in, you also cover secondary care as well, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. We try and do secondary care as much as possible, but there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that just make it very difficult. And what we found, we've actually looked at a few people very recently, is that a lot of people who start locuming with us through the clients that we work with often end up getting offered a salaried job. So for the client, it's like a 3-month long interview where the PA goes in the locums with them, and then they like, actually, I love how you work, you're a great team player, let's get you a salary job. And then you guys get a salary job via Locum PA with the practice. And it works out really well. And it's a really convenient and easy way for a PA to kind of also see I like this practice, or I don't like it very much. If I get off the job, no thanks, or yes, I do want it because I really like the team here and I can see potential.
That makes a lot of sense. A sort of try before you buy.
We've been very, very mindful in terms of quality that we provide in terms of the medical service to the GP practices and to the hospitals. And, not as per, a normal job, not every PA that approaches us will be offered a position because, quality, it means, reliability and reputation for the company. So I think we've actually probably grown quite steadily. I wouldn't say we've grown particularly fast over the years because we're trying to maintain that high level of quality of service. That's appropriate. Everybody knows that locums get paid, a bit more money than you would do in a normal job. And for that, we expect PAs to be of a high standard and quality. And we spent a lot of time actually during COVID developing things in the background. And, some PAs come along to us and they're not experienced enough. They haven't done the CPD that they should be doing in their normal jobs, for example. And they don't, quite meet the criteria yet.
That was going to be one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys about. If a physician associate or a PA student's listening to this podcast at the moment and thinking, okay, locuming sounds like a good option for me, what would you counsel them is important for them to consider before they think about doing a locum shift?
Generally, we want PAs who've got experience. You have to think about it compared to the salaried role. So, GPs who are working as GPs have, 10 years medical experience. PAs who are coming in, they obviously need to have experience within that setting. They need to be familiar with that, that specialty of medicine. So I guess the first thing is, do you have enough experience? The second thing would be sort of the onboarding process. So it's really interesting kind of what we see in the PA world at the moment, in that because PAs aren't used to the concept of locuming, like, for example, an A&P or a GP or a nurse would be, when they come through to us, they look at the onboarding list of required criteria and documents and they think, wow, this is loads. And actually it's not. It's not at all. All of the CPD and the requirements that we ask for are actually what PAs should be doing in their normal jobs anyway. So there isn't actually anything additional when you come through to us. We just make sure that you have done everything that you should have done already.
So you're insisting that people are on the managed voluntary register, they're up to date with their CPD, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
you can't even register with our website if you're not on the MVR.
Yeah, we made our website whereby if you have to input an MVR number, which then gets checked automatically and manually. And if you're not on the MVR, then we're like, hello, who are you? What are you doing? Show us some other evidence that you've qualified from your UK trained university. You've got a national examination certificate in your hand. And so why are you not on the MVR? Because we need to make sure if there's no MVR, you're not going to work with us and you can go off and do your own thing. But essentially, if you don't have an MVR, you're not going to be working via Locum PA. And
then we interview all of our PAs as well. They're fairly standard questions. We're just basically checking to make sure that they are experienced and, I suppose, really good PA representatives for the profession as well and for our company.
We typically ask for at least 6 months of working primary care experience in a salaried job before we really at all consider you working as a locum. And the main crux of this is that you need to understand the basics of how primary care works, how clinics are run, the type of patients you're going to see. So I have a background in neurology and neurosurgery. I have quite a lot of years of PA experience in secondary care. No way in hell am I even going to go think about going into primary care as a locum, because I won't have a clue how to look after someone with eczema. So that's one thing to really consider. And actually, you've got to make sure that that's done, because actually what we often find is that a lot of the shifts that we have available can be covering GP sickness or sudden sickness from medical from a general practice. And then they're saying, can a PA come and do this as long as there's appropriate supervision and stuff like that? And yes, they can. But then also we have to make sure the PA that does take up that shift does have that experience. So you must think that actually there's a PA, you need to be able to see pretty much any patient of any age. And the other thing is working at appointment times. And generally speaking, we do need to have people working quite comfortably at 15-minute appointments for us to be able to allow them to work. So key things are 15-minute appointments and being comfortable seeing any patient of any age, and that includes pediatrics as well.
So one of the things that we've done is we've sort of got a bit of an alliance with the Matrix appraisal tool. So we offer that free. So we give them the PAs who sign up to us free access to that for a year so that they can do their appraisals. And we've also kind of worked a little bit with the Matrix appraisal tool as well, just to try and tweak it to how we like it. I do a lot of software development on the platform at the moment, so I kind of like try and help them out and improve their platform as well.
Brilliant, thank you. And are you finding demand for PAs as locums is strong? Is it strong in certain areas of the country? Whereabouts are you sort of seeing the growth of locum PA?
So interestingly, at the moment, we generally can't get enough PAs to cover the shifts that we've got. So we have a lot. So we're at the point now where our reputation is very good, and that clients refer to other clients. So that's kind of the quality and reputation, and I suppose that speaks for itself. And at the moment, we can't cater for all the shifts. I think normally on an average month, we have 500 or 600 hours that we can't cover because we don't have enough PAs on the system with us. And there's probably a couple of, a few reasons for that. I guess PAs don't realise sometimes that they can locum. A lot of PA jobs seem to be full-time. In GP, it seems a little bit odd. A full-time GP is 8 sessions, whereas full-time PA is 10 sessions. So I think a lot of PAs are contracted in to work, Monday to Friday and don't have that extra time to do the locuming. But I definitely recommend it in terms of experience and career progression, because experience is doing the job in different ways, not doing the same job every day and not seeing how it's done in other practices or other sites. So it's quite slow growth, but the more PAs that register with us within a city, we actually have mapped out all the PAs on our platform, and currently it's just under 550. So we map them out like literally on a map with pins, so we can see where people are basically working and what specialty. And so we use that to decide where we go next in terms of expansion.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joe. So if somebody's interested in signing up with your Locum PA company, where do they go to find out more?
So the best thing to go is onto our website, www.locumpa.com, and register as a medical service provider. It's a pretty self-explanatory process. It's a standard web form. You sign up with email, and we would like you to sign up using an nhs.net email. And at the same time, it's going to ask you for your MVR number. Before your account is activated, someone in the Locum PA team will have a look at the MVR number on the MVR register on the FPA website and verify your credentials on that way. And then you'll be granted access to the website itself. There's a few stages which we need you to complete before we even get you to the point where you can even see the shifts. So it's filling out things like your address, adding a profile picture, contact details, next of kin stuff, emergencies, and then we go on to the thing that often takes the vast majority of the time, and that's uploading all the correct documents. And that goes through things like having a CV, your mandatory training like BLS, adult and child safeguarding, GDPR awareness, your MVR certificates, your MVR number from the FPA, amongst a whole bunch of other things. Once one of us at Locum PA has reviewed all those documents on there and it has been accepted, you'll get a little type of taskbar that says what percentage your profile is up to complete. So until you reach 100%, you can't move on to the next stage. And only then does the next page essentially unlock. And that goes on through how to register for getting paid. And then it goes on to the scheduling invitation platform, which we use. Once that's all done, and before we get you sorted, then we'll have to do a quick, a fairly comprehensive interview with you. That can be over the phone, and we'll ask you through a few clinical scenarios, your competency-based skills, and all the standard stuff you'd probably expect in any general interview. Once that's all been done, then we can get you onto the scheduling platform, and that's a little app which we use, and that's where we have all the available shifts that you can see, and then you can essentially set up your availability. So if you work, say you work every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can block that out so you don't get notifications, so you can only see what's available on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then we'll add you to the different locations which we think you might be best suited at to locum at. And then you can pick and choose, and we'll also be able to see and keep an eye out on things. The key thing to remember is once you start working with us, we will always gather regular feedback from the clients themselves about how you've done on the shift. So we will find out if you were there early, on time, or late. If there's any clinical concerns that are brought about by the supervising doctor who's on duty with you, and whether or not they generally felt that you're a good team player.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Alex. And Joe, you wanted to explain a little bit more about how your app works.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I guess one of the fun things about being involved with Locum PA and setting up the processes is that we were starting from scratch. So we could literally decide, how would we dream up the best possible way of working, and then spent a very long time researching and trying to make that happen. So we actually have an app where all the shifts are published. And on the app, you basically take a shift and you select it, and then it goes directly to your email and to your text and to the app, and it shows in your timetable. And then when you arrive on site, you press start, and it geo-tags you. So it drops a GPS pin showing that you're on site. And then you do that the same for break, and then the same for when you finish the shift. And that automatically creates a timesheet, which is, completely protected against fraud. It's completely secure. And then that creates timesheet, and then you get paid a week later. So it's really, we've designed the company to be super tech savvy, super futuristic compared to a lot of the traditional agencies that people come across that are still using like paper timesheets, for example.
Cool. It sounds really like a really useful app that you guys have developed. So is Locum PA, do you see yourselves as an agency?
Very good question, James. So it's a really common misconception, and we're really very much not set up that way. We specifically tried to get away from being a traditional agency model, which doesn't really have very much kind of input with the workers. So Locum PA is obviously our name, and that's really designed to attract PAs to the world of locuming for all the kind of lifestyle balanced lifestyle benefits that come along with it. But actually, we're really set up as a medical service provider. We have a lot of input with the PAs who work for us. And the PAs are actually employees of the company as well. But we give them the freedom to work as little or as much as they want. So we actually have a really good payroll system now, whereby you can get points, and you put those points to like red letter days and private medical if you wanted to. And loads of other benefits, childcare vouchers,
taste cards as well.
Taste cards, yeah, absolutely. And then we also pay our PAs, our employees, on a weekly basis too. So yeah, I think traditional agencies, they're just trying to get the numbers in, they're just trying to get the shifts filled, whereas we're much more about concentrating on the quality of service that we're providing, and we know our PAs really well. We have a good relationship with everybody who works for us.
Is there anything else that PAs need to consider when they're thinking about locuming, perhaps in primary care?
Yeah, one of the really important things to consider for everyone is indemnity or insurance. It's crucial that whatever you do, you are protected with insurance indemnity. Quite a lot of practices won't even consider this. Especially if you're working through an agency, if you don't have adequate insurance. You have the NHS Clinical Negligence Scheme, which is very good in general practice, which is very good, and it does cover quite a lot of the work that PAs do carry out. But there's a few areas that you need to consider. Things like GDPR breaches, so information and patient data breaches often isn't really quite covered by the NHS Clinical Negligence Scheme. So Locum PA actually has its own indemnity policy, which is being completely designed specifically with physician associates in mind. So it's a tailored, unique, one of a kind insurance policy. So if you end up working through Locum PA, every single shift is fully indemnified with medical malpractice up to £10 million for every shift that you do. So you're fully versed and fully protected, which is why another reason why Joe and I take quite a lot of time to make sure that we have experienced PAs who understand this, because we cover your insurance as well. Usually, if you do an independent provider, you're looking at paying out something around £500 to £600 a year in insurance alone. Whereas here in the Locum PA, we cover it completely free of charge and just absorb that cost to make sure to give that opportunity for PAs to come and do some local work with us.
That's a really good point, Alex, about indemnity. I think it's a really important topic for a lot of us to consider a bit more. How does it work in terms of the locum PAs that you're putting into practice? How are they supervised if you're perhaps going across multiple sites or different locations?
Every single shift that happens through Locum PA, there is a designated duty doctor that has overall supervision. So a physician associate who goes to general practice for a shift, there will always be a doctor which has overall supervision of the PA. Sometimes that may not be in person on site, so they may have to just contact them through the computer systems on the phone, or they'll be just in the practice next door. But there is always a named clinician that supervises the PA. So we're not going to send you off to a random general practice and then you're on your own with no support, no supervision, because that will actually invalidate Locum PA's indemnity. So if ever that's the case, if anyone's listening to this podcast and they find themselves not supervised, you need to stop right there and right now until you get adequate supervision. With Locum PA, we have it's in our written formal agreements with all the clients that there has to be a doctor available to supervise that shift should a PA need some help.
Brilliant. Thanks for explaining that to me, guys. I guess there's one question around how do we know that the physician associates that are coming in doing the locum work are of good quality? Like, how are there any safeguards or protections in place for the patient safety?
Yeah, sure. So I think it stems back to having a high quality of physician associates. So Locum PA has spent quite a bit of time working on and being approved for something called the NHS framework. So the NHS framework is a set of requirements which the government and the NHS have set out for companies like Locum PA to adhere to supply any NHS provider. So that means Locum PA have a legal obligation to check people's credentials, such as the DBS certificate, the qualifications, making sure you're on the MVR, and your ability to actually see patients in a safe and timely manner. This coincides quite nicely with GMC regulation, where the standards of physician associates providing healthcare is going to remain quite high. And luckily, Locum PA are already at that point and exceeding that point because we're on the NHS, something called the NHS framework, which allows us to supply to any hospital across the UK.
Fantastic. And I guess the last question from me is, where do you see this going in the future? How is this business going to change, do you think, and the profession going to change?
The sky's the limit, really, and we really want to expand beyond like south and southeast and go to Birmingham, Manchester, get all of you guys up there locuming as well. It's just getting the resources available and getting those PAs who have the ability to do all those clinics, or have all those skills. GMC regulation at the moment is obviously a big question or a big problem or thorn in the side for physician associates. Once GMC regulation comes in, I think the profession itself will change dramatically, including pay increases with increased responsibility and ownership, and potentially beyond that, the ability to prescribe.
I think that what's going to happen in general practice is that you're going to have these sort of general practice consultants or partners of the practice, and they will have like a team of PA or a multidisciplinary team that will be working for them. So there'll be like a few PAs working alongside AMPs, clinical pharmacists, practice nurses, physiotherapists. So GP practice is changing, getting quite a lot of physiotherapists first appointments now as well. So I think that the scope for the number of PAs in primary care is going to massively increase.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Thanks both for joining me. I'll leave links to Locum PA in the show notes so that if anybody's listened to this and wants to find out more, they'll be able to find your details there. Are you on social media, Twitter, Facebook?
Yes, we are on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is our favourite social media platform. We cannot emphasise enough to PAs, please get on LinkedIn, put your CVs up there so that we can find you, so that you're representing your profession. It shows that you are interested and engaged in your career. Get on LinkedIn, please. But also come and visit our website. There's a live chat on the website where you can talk to the team. Generally, we're open from 8 till 8, most days as well. And we have an FAQ section on the website, which hopefully addresses everything that we've forgotten to mention in this podcast as well, which I'm sure we have.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. And like I said, I'll leave links to Locum PA in the show notes so that people can find you there. We're on social media at PA Podcast UK, and I hope you'll join me again for the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Physician Associate Podcast.